Am I the jerk for telling my sibling that they're the worst person ever to exist? I am the only child between my parents. My mother has 2 sons from a previous marriage, and my father has 1 son from his previous marriage. The brother that I'm talking about is from my mother's first marriage. Let's call him Jack. My father raised Jack and all of us children equally, always taking care of us. My father's family was the only family Jack knew. They never treated him differently. Everyone was always together, celebrating holidays and birthdays. Fast forward 20 years, my parents announced that they were going to get divorced. This was fine. It wasn't a secret. We were all grown up and out of the house at this point anyway. Jack decided to announce that as our parents were getting divorced, he was no longer part of the family. He said he was divorcing everyone too. The whole family who took care of him, he just decided they weren't his family. Just like that, he cut off everyone who ever cared about him, except for our mother. However, the communication between them was poor at best. I still tried to reach out to him and his family. He ignored me until one day he asked me to meet him for lunch. He looked me in the face and told me that we had nothing in common and he would like it if we were strangers on the street. 2 years later, my grandmother died. Everyone tried to get a hold of him to at least come and pay respects to the only grandmother he had ever known. He did not respond. Another 2 years went by and no one had heard from him. Then my uncle fell ill and passed away, and this is where things got tricky. My uncle was in hospice, very ill, and Jack magically showed up. He came to visit my uncle and talked to family members as if everything was fine. I didn't know about this until my cousin told me, sending me a screenshot of a text he had sent her. In response, I took his phone number, texted him, and told him to leave her alone. I also told him how my uncle didn't like him, how he had divorced the family, stepped out, and had no rights. He texted me back, begging to meet and explain. I agreed. I wanted him to say something, anything. I asked him what we were doing there and what he had to say. He said nothing. I tried to understand. Instead, he let me sit at the bar and fully curse him out and tell him how hurtful his actions were to the family. Not showing up to our grandmother's funeral but visiting our uncle in hospice? My uncle hated him, by the way. After years of silence, he said nothing. So I sat and told him exactly what everyone thought of him. I'm not sure what he was expecting after begging to explain his actions to me and then staying silent the whole time. I told him how much I hated him and how he was the worst. The next morning, I received a long text message from my father about how upset my mother was with me and how I had the nerve to say what I said to Jack. Jack had called my mother the next morning and complained about what I had said. Am I the asshole for saying what everyone wanted to say about his actions and never did? It really sounds like there's another story here that you don't know about. Some people cut off family out of anger or hurt, and it's usually for reasons that are tough to understand without more context. Has anyone ever tried to ask Jack how and why he came to these decisions? You're not wrong for how you feel, but it might have been too harsh without fully trying to get to the bottom of it all. Am I the jerk for not helping my parents pay for my younger sibling's big birthday gift? I, a 17-year-old male, have 2 younger sisters. Ava, a 15-year-old female, is younger, and Rhea, a 14-year-old female, is the youngest. Rhea and I are really close, and I would do anything for her anytime. We can annoy each other and sometimes we fight, but she is one of my favorite people. We're the closest in our family by far. I can't stand Ava. Rhea wishes she had a better relationship with Ava, but Ava can be such a bully to Rhea. Sometimes it's like Ava wanted to be an only child. She's worse toward Rhea, which bothers me more than if she were that way with me. But she can also be a total jerk to me. Sometimes it's annoying little kid things, but she's also quick to be more cruel. She can go from hiding my phone somewhere and refusing to tell me where it is, which led to a broken phone once, to ruining my homework because I wouldn't help with hers, which is code for doing her homework for her. One time she deleted my entire finished essay because I wouldn't do her math homework for her. Another time she spilled water all over my assignment sheet. When we were younger, it was worse because we got a lot of handouts and it was easier. With Rhea, she's way worse. She tries to humiliate her by telling kids stuff that Rhea did that others would make fun of her for. Like when she used to have accidents when we were little, or how one time she puked all over Santa. Ava also outed Rhea as a lesbian before Rhea wanted to be out. Ava wasn't even told. She heard Rhea and me talking and decided to spill to people. Our parents discipline Ava and they try to make it up to us. But I know they expect forgiveness when Ava doesn't ask for it, and that's where this comes in. Every year for our birthday, we get 1 big gift and 3 much smaller ones. The big one always takes priority. Ava's birthday's in a couple of weeks, and they had to spend a portion of the money set aside for her big gift because we had a big plumbing leak. So they asked me if I would share the cost with them so Ava can still get her big gift. They know I have a job and that I save money, so I get why they'd think to ask me. But for Ava, I said no. My parents told me they know we have our issues, but she's still my sister, and they said I will make things worse if I don't do this for her because she knows I would do it for Rhea in a heartbeat. I told them Rhea deserves it. Ava doesn't, and she definitely doesn't deserve it from me. My parents said they'd give me the money back in $50 each week, and I said no way again. They told me they were disappointed I would hold such a grudge against my little sister. Am I the asshole? Not the a-hole. You are not in the wrong here. Your parents are way out of line expecting you to share the cost for Ava's gift, especially considering her history of mistreatment towards you and Rhea. It's their responsibility to manage their budget and address Ava's behavior, not yours. You should not have to prioritize Ava's desires over your own financial well-being, and it's disappointing that your parents are trying to guilt-trip you into doing so. Am I the jerk for telling my sibling, this isn't our parents' house anymore? So my brother and I got into an argument a few days ago when he came over to my house. I am currently living at home with my father and my brother's 2 children. My brother is a drug addict who has put our family through strife and pain for years. From him overdosing in my arms in front of our house to not taking care of his kids and forcing my parents to start over after I, the youngest, went away to college. He takes no responsibility, yet we have offered to help him again and again because he is family. Our mother passed away 4 years ago from COVID, and it's been hard on everyone, but we are finally starting to move on with our lives. I still live at home, helping my father with the 2 kids while my brother is out doing whatever he wants. He has a habit of bringing random people to our house, not the kind of people you would want as house guests. We have had to kick him out about 5 or 6 times over the years. The last straw was a few summers ago when he and I got into a fist fight because he was insanely high and tweaking out at 2:00 a.m. while I was trying to sleep for work at 5:00 a.m., doing this in front of the kids. My father and I decided he is no longer welcome in the house to keep peace there, and for the children's sake. He, for the most part, has kept away, but now that he's out of jail, he will not stop coming over with a random woman we do not know. My brother has stolen from us before for drugs. He even stole and sold his children's PlayStation, which we ended up getting back. When he came busting through our backyard and loitering on our back deck, I was angry but did not exactly tell him off. It was nice to see him again, but I knew he couldn't stay. He left after a few hours and it was a nice visit to say the least. But after a few days, he kept coming back unannounced, and my father had enough. We explained we loved him but could not have him stay in the house anymore. He freaked out and said, "This is my mother's house. I can stay if I want." My dad and I finally snapped and said, "This isn't your mother's house anymore. Mommy's dead." It got heated and bad, and he finally left but went around telling the family about what happened. Our family took our side because they know his history and how he has treated us in the past. Am I the asshole for saying this to him? Obviously, I love my brother, but he has to get his life straight. We've tried everything we can, but he just does the same things over and over again. Everything is very peaceful when he's not around, and we like to keep it that way. Your actions were justified. Consider getting cameras installed, changing the locks, and calling the police the second he sets foot on the property again. If possible, get a restraining order and put up a gate with a lock to prevent any trespassing. You need to keep it consistent because people don't change that easily, and he will continue to cause issues if you don't make a hard change. Am I the jerk for telling my friend she is not in a position to lecture me? This November, I, an 18-year-old female, began dating Jason, a 23-year-old male. We met at a music festival near my college. I was the one who approached him. I initially thought he was around my age, maybe a little older, 20 or 21. However, he was actually 23. After meeting, I gave him my number and told him we should hang out sometime. He did not text or call me for a week, so I ended up calling him, and we began dating after that. So far, it has been going great. He treats me amazingly, and he is polite and respectful of me. I have dated 3 other guys my age in high school and college, and they were all a bunch of immature assholes, as most people my age are, I suppose. I first decided to keep my relationship secret from my friends and family since my parents and older brother are both very protective of me. I knew they would not be happy with me seeing an older guy, but recently I decided to come clean about it. My parents and older brother, as I suspected, were not happy with me dating someone 5 years older. However, they mostly accepted it. My dad gave the standard "if you hurt my daughter, I'll kill you" talk, which he did not give to any of my previous boyfriends. I am guessing because they were boys my age. I figured it was time to introduce him to my friends also. Most of them were happy or indifferent, except one, Amy, a 22-year-old female. She acted friendly when she met him, but afterward pulled me aside and told me she was worried about me. She said that when she was my age, she dated older guys and that they were all immature assholes who used her for sex and treated her badly. I told her that I appreciated her concern, but that I trusted Jason and that he was a good person. After all, I was the one who made the first move. I was also the one who initiated sex between the two of us. Despite me saying this, she did not drop it, and instead kept trying to convince me to break up. After a while of this, I got fed up and said she was not in a position to lecture me about relationships considering she was single. I know it is stupid and immature, and I immediately apologized after I said it, but I could tell that struck a nerve. Her last boyfriend cheated on her, and she has been single for over a year. I realized what I said was mean and apologized, but she was angry too and stormed off. We have not talked in a week. I kind of feel bad for what I said, but at the same time, it would not have happened if she had stopped trying to convince me after I told her to drop it. So, am I the asshole? Amy was trying to look out for you when she expressed her worry, which is what friends do. However, she crossed the line when she wouldn't drop the issue and made it all about Jason's age. On the other hand, you were unnecessarily mean with your response, which was brutally rude and uncalled for. Both of you messed up, but you went too far and should probably apologize to make things right. Am I the jerk for taking a movie too seriously? My boyfriend and I, both 19 years old and modern punk and hardcore fans, decided to watch Suburbia, 1983, tonight. Since this movie is about the punk scene in the 1980s, it seemed like a great choice for movie night. My boyfriend had already seen the movie and described it as a light-hearted comedy with poor actors. However, as we started watching, many of the scenes in the movie provoked me and left me thinking. Much of the movie felt outwardly misogynistic and portrayed scenes of female abuse at the hands of the punk scene. My boyfriend informed me that it couldn't be misogynistic because a woman directed it. This made me wonder why a woman would choose to portray the punk scene so violently and negatively, leaving me with questions about the framing and narrative of the movie and what it said about the history of my subculture. I didn't find any of the jokes funny, but I'm not a very comedic person. I am autistic, so a lot of jokes miss or don't really make me laugh, even if I still enjoy the media they're coming from. My boyfriend seemed disturbed that I didn't find the movie funny and paused it to ask me what was wrong. He seemed irritated that I wasn't seeing the movie as something light and comedic. When I tried explaining that this movie was actually hard to watch for me and that I found it really interesting and compelling, he was discouraged. He said he didn't want to watch the movie if I was going to overthink it. Even though I tried to explain that just because I wasn't enjoying it on a surface level, I was still really interested in it. He seemed more focused on the fact that he had shown me a movie I didn't enjoy the same way that he did. We decided not to keep watching it, but he became distant and wasn't receptive to my attempts to smooth things over. I'm worried that I hit a soft spot for him or that I pushed things too far by trying to make a comedy movie about feminism and complicated literary interpretation. Should I have just kept quiet and tried not to rock the boat? Absolutely, you are not the bad guy in this situation. Suburbia is in no way a comedy. It's dark and violent, depicting the punk scene accurately rather than negatively. It's baffling that anyone would describe it as funny, especially given the disturbing events in the film. The punk scene was a product of the 70s and 80s, and it was never about peace and love, which the movie portrays quite starkly. Am I the jerk for not supporting my friend with her sick grandma while I just had a baby? I, a 26-year-old female, recently had a baby. During my pregnancy, my friend Susan, who is also a 26-year-old female, was super excited for me. She bought presents for my baby, was supportive, always asked how I was, and occasionally visited me 2 or 3 times. After my baby was born, she visited me a couple of times and even helped me give him a bath once. Overall, she is a really good friend, and I always made sure she knew how much I appreciated her support. A couple of months ago, her grandmother got really sick and basically cannot do anything by herself anymore. This was really exhausting for Susan since she had to split her time between working and taking care of her grandmother. Meanwhile, I had a newborn and couldn't go out of the house because I was breastfeeding and taking care of the baby. Susan posted a lot on social media about her grandmother. Her grandmother got worse and was hospitalized several times. Susan is her primary caretaker, but she is receiving some help from her family now and then. 2 weeks ago, I had to go back to work. My baby is 3 months old now. I go to the office in the morning and the rest of the day I work from home. I have to work, take care of the baby, and do the majority of the house chores. When my husband gets home, he helps me, but by then I am completely exhausted. 2 days ago, I noticed that Susan had excluded me from her social media, so I asked her what happened. She then proceeded to tell me that she was posting mostly about her grandmother and deleted all people that do not care for her situation. I was taken aback and explained that I was not interacting much on social media, but every time I see her personally, I ask about how things are and that I care about the situation. Susan then told me that she had multiple times helped a lot of people, that she is a friend that is always present. Now, only 2 friends of hers went to visit her grandmother at the hospital. She has expended a lot of money on geriatric diapers, medicines, and similar items and received few donations. Her grandmother is retired and receives an amount of money from the government, but apparently, it is not enough to cover her expenses. While she was using the terms friends or people, I knew she was referring directly to me because I did not visit her grandmother at the hospital or help her financially. I explained to her that I have a baby only 3 months old. I cannot have contact with sick people and hospitals are full of them. Especially with her grandmother having pneumonia, which is contagious, I won't risk making my baby sick. Regarding helping her financially, I know she gave my baby presents and I was very grateful, but I am in a very tight spot with the expenses of a baby. While on maternity leave, I was making half of what I usually make, and only now will I start receiving my full payment. I told her I was very sorry for her situation, but couldn't do much due to my struggles. She did not respond to me. I thought a lot about it and asked myself if I could do more, but I don't see how. So, am I the asshole? It is completely normal to give a gift to a friend with a new baby, but not to financially support someone with a sick relative unless you are very close. Susan may feel unsupported, but it's crucial to prioritize your new baby right now. Other ways to be supportive could be checking in through calls or online, even if you can't be physically present. It's important to acknowledge her situation and show that you care, even in small ways. Thanks for watching. When you subscribe, make sure to hit the bell to turn on notifications so you never miss a video. To finish listening to all the stories, check out the playlist in the description.